so many times we see all these relationships in other people and on TV and stuff where there's all this drama all the time. And we feel like this is what it's like, and it feels like normal because you see it on TV and it's all turbulent and stuff, and then there's this, this big fight, and then there's huge passion and making up, and you're just like, it doesn't actually look like that. I mean, maybe some people's relationships look like that. Ours definitely doesn't.
Hello and welcome to Uncovered, the podcast with your host, Jason Irving. Join me in a journey to understand what's truly happening in your world and the world around you. This is not about how you're living life on the surface. It's about what's truly driving you from under the covers. I'm going to take you on a journey to deeply uncover the reason why you are here, the ultimate purpose in your problems, and the way that they have shaped your life up until now. See, I believe you have a purpose, and your problems are the highway towards ultimate realization of that journey towards freedom and the reconnection of your true self. I've been told I have a different spin on most things, and I'll be giving you my understanding of life, love, and what we're all here for, purpose. To get the best out of this podcast, drop what you already know so you can discover what's beyond you. So join me, let's play this game of life and bring on liberation, transformation, and change. Let's do this. Hey guys, welcome to Uncovered. I'm really excited. I've got two people here that I really love. We're going to be talking about relationships today, and this is what we all want, and this is what these two guys actually have, and we're going to talk about the fundamentals of what a really good longevity-based relationship is all about. So Filia, you work with me, and Kody, the beautiful husband. Thanks for coming in today.
No problem at all.
Thanks for having us. It's great.
Yeah, so look, I really want to know about you two and the way that you met and how you started connecting in together. Like, what was it like when you first met each other? What was going on for you both?
So we first met when we were both in Canada on a working holiday, and a friend of mine knew someone who then said, "Oh, Kody thinks Filia is cute," and I was like, "Who's Kody?" So we were both always at this jam night, and all this group of people would play music, and Kody was one of them. So when I actually looked him up, I knew, this guy, yeah, he's cute. So the next time we went there, he played music again. I said hello and bought him some shots, and yeah.
There you go. It started with the standard old alcohol. There we go.
The wild.
And you fell in love. You were like a raving fan of the music.
Absolutely. And yeah, well, I mean, the night ended kind of like with us kissing and so on, and we went on a date as well, and then we only knew each other for like maybe 2 weeks or something before Kody then got deported. So that was a bit upsetting.
Yeah, I remember that, Kody. We all have experiences where things happen, and So, what was your feeling about Filia? So, what was going on for you in your heart and head when you met her?
Well, I mean, obviously, straight away I just thought she was good looking. So I was attracted to her.
Yeah.
And my friend knew your friend and kind of got the hook up there. And I was playing bass guitar on stage, and then she bought me a shot, and
What sort of shot was it?
Jägermeister.
Okay, so Jägermeister, is that the sort of like the alcoholic drink that actually creates Cupid, or goes on?
I think they would love that. They would sell more alcohol if that was true. But it was just being young, drunk in the mountains. And of course, I thought that Filia was pretty special. So, there was lots of women that I had met there, but there was something I saw in Filia that was very special. And I wanted to look after her. I wanted to, treat her well, because she wasn't like anyone I met before. She just had a very special something, and I wanted to. We went on a date, and I actually thought, this is someone that I'd love to be my girlfriend, and not just a fling, not just a sexy time, And but then I got deported. So
yeah, it's really interesting. So we're talking about an Australian and a German in Canada in another country and meeting.
Yeah.
So this is not just one of those things where I think things are destined.
in my opinion. We meet people for sometimes a season, a reason, and a lifetime, right? And so what happened? Like, how did you keep in touch and that sort of thing when you came home? What happened? How did you keep getting to know each other?
So because Kody got deported and had to leave straight away, all his stuff was still there. So I actually picked that up from the house, and then he organised it to be sent back to Australia, and sent me some tags and stuff to put on there as well, and also sent me a beautiful letter. So we kind of were always in touch, and then we were would just video call each other and just have conversations, and throughout the years we would write each other letters as well, which I thought was quite cool, and then just develop this real beautiful friendship. And we were both real travelers, so sometimes it was like, I'm living, Cody's like, I'm living in Japan at the moment, like, and then we talked, and he was telling me about life in Japan, and I was doing my bachelor's degree in Germany, so I was telling him about my life there. So we really we didn't have contact like all the time or anything like that, but we never lost touch. So that was really beautiful.
That's really awesome, because a lot of people don't write letters. Right? This is just weird.
Yeah,
especially for young people. It's like, I don't write letters, right? And so it's like it's an old-fashioned sort of courtship in lots of ways. You're getting to know each other as people, because you couldn't experience the normal, let's just go hell for leather in the bedroom, because there was a distance away from each other. And that happened with Anya and I. We had 5 months of not being able to be together, so we got to know each other, and then we hung out for 5 weeks, and then we had another big space of not seeing each other. I think this is really interesting, guys, because you have a fundamental way of approaching in your relationship. So I'd love to know, like, what makes you guys work? Like, what is it that makes you guys really tick? You've got some really good fundamental things that you do that I think are really special. Your Sunday nights that you have, that you make sure that you dedicate to your relationship. So tell us how you do it, because I just hear things. I'm just the old guy wanting to learn.
We have date night, and we just hang out, and usually it's just a time dedicated for us to spend together, and that's really nice. But we also just enjoy spending time together. So I think friendship, like you and Anya, we joke around. We're always joking, like playing games. We're kind of like little kids, just mucking around all the time, and I think it makes it easy, because then when it gets hard and like some patterns come up or something, we can work on it, but we can also get out of it pretty quickly, and we just enjoy each other's company. I think we're like two inner childs that play really well together. We just work. I don't know, it's hard to explain. I've never experienced it with anyone else. So
I think that friendship that was developed beforehand was so important as well, because in my past relationships I would always like just jump into it straight away, and then realize like throughout the relationship, this isn't really working, or the partner realized, we both realized, and then in hindsight it was like, why did this happen in the first place? So this really made a difference, because you really knew each other, and you're like, oh, well, I really like this person, we have some shared interests, and we can talk about deep things, and things that we both are interested in, and not just, we have nothing in common or anything like that. I'm not saying you need to have everything in common and every single interest is shared or something. You need to be your own person too, but it's really good to have certain things that you're both passionate about and that you can share with each other.
Yeah, I think that's really, really important. There's a really interesting part of how all dynamics of relationship works, in my opinion, listeners. You've got this approach that you guys do that really works, and what I want to sort of touch base on, and I think a lot of people lose this, and this is what really annoys me about people giving people advice, is that you've got this real childlike connection with each other, and childlike connection's like the creativity part. It's the part that you can actually build together. If it's too childlike, we can be irresponsible. So we need to know how to make sure we handle that very, very well. It keeps you in a place of wonder. And that's what I see in the both of your eyes. You still have a wonder in your eyes with each other. So it's like, the best way I can explain it from what I see in the two of you is the honeymoon period hasn't finished.
No.
Right? Because people say it's over, and I think it's over when the children don't get to play.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that childlike wonder allows you to have a laugh at each other and not take everything so seriously, and all of these things that we sort of forget, you know, as we're getting older. And you know, as a parent of kids, I'd be saying to you, well, just wait.
Yeah,
You'll find when it's going to be really, really hard, it's going to be really difficult. Don't you worry about that. You're only in a young relationship, so I know better. I'm 50 years old, and I know my shit here, and I'm just going to tell you a few things. But I don't do that as a mentor. I've mentored both of you, and I'm not that person because I look at every individual relationship and see a blend and a uniqueness in the two of you that I really believe, listeners, you need to understand and explore, because we decide in certain phases of our life that we have to take things away, right? And that's what gets taken away when we have a wedding ring. We start creating a whole new paradigm of rules, and then we go, okay, kids coming, we create a whole new paradigm of rules. We forget to play. We forget to enjoy. And I think you guys have a really important aspect that listeners need to understand, is that if you lose what you've got then it goes into the burden and my partner doesn't hear me and all of that. You have conversations, don't you?
Oh, we talk every day. Like, we talk every night, hey?
Yeah.
Like, over dinner, sure.
Always talking.
Yeah, always talking. Somewhere. No, I mean, we still have time for ourselves as well, but we always, like, figure stuff out together and be like, oh, this is what happened, and, like, I get really triggered today, or, you know, we talk about whatever's going on for us and then work it out together, still supporting each other.
Yeah. And do you challenge each other? What do you do when things are hard? Like, if someone's having a hard time, how do you get through, you know, difficult conversations? What do you do?
Well, I think it depends if the pattern's been circulating.
Okay, let's just break down what do you mean by pattern?
So, for example, an attachment to sadness is what I would do.
Yeah.
And then I wouldn't want to change a pattern that I run, such as with my dad. And then I would keep saying the same story, and nothing would change. And Philly would go, okay, that's enough. After a while, after 3 times or so, you're doing this, you're not changing, you need to take responsibility. But you'd be very kind for the first 3, listen to me, until it's like, enough's enough, okay. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then with Filia, usually I just have to be patient, because that's what you want. Usually I just want to change it straight away. But, well, how about, what's an example that you can think of?
For me, personally?
Yeah.
I think that, I guess, like, one of my problems is then communication, and, like, honestly and vulnerably talking about how I feel. I tend to be more like, let's talk about you. And then kind of being a bit more saying what I need, and then also helping Kody to actually support me and telling him how I need to be supported, and not just be like, well, you're not supporting me the way I want to, but I'm not going to tell you how to do that, because you should just know that, right? So you said to me before many times, like, tell me what to do, like, help me here as well. So I said, oh, well, you know, I just kind of want you to listen right now, you know, and not give me advice or something, because sometimes I can feel then like, oh yeah, I need to fix you, or, you know, you need to change or something. So I think it's really important to, and, you know, we're really working on this, like, to actually talk and be balanced in, you know.
So this is what I love about what I'm hearing, is because if Kody wasn't Kody, Kody could just take you for a ride and take advantage of you, because you're more on the side of reversing everything and making Kody more important than you.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I love about you, Kody, is that you're trying to challenge Filia to stop doing that. And this is what a good man does. And a lot of men go, oh, I'm going to sit on the couch and just take all of this in. while the partner's feeling resentful and not knowing why, right? And having these conversations to say, well, you need to help me help you. And quite often, have you felt like you've been a bit of a Homer Simpson bubble, not knowing how to be helped?
Oh, 100%. So then I was just like, I don't know, just be here, just sit with me and we'll figure it out in a way in that moment. And yeah, that's the beautiful thing about Kody. He actually asks as well. So it's not like there's this expectation for me to just go and like start talking about things, but he actually asks, and he genuinely wants to know, and not just like, oh, I have to ask, so I ask. He's genuinely interested in what's happening for me and to actually understand and then to help in whatever way that means.
Yeah, I love this. So listeners, this is really, really different. So what I've helped lots of relationships over the years, right? And usually I'm sitting down with a couple who have been together for, let's say, 15, 20 years, and they don't even know each other, right? They actually have no idea what the other person wants, because we do this really dumb thing called presumption. That quite often, and this is what I love about the two of you, listen to these two. They talk, right? And that's what's most important to get a framework of a relationship working, because a lot of the time the talking only happens in the honeymoon period, and then it stops. One person starts running suppression and the other person talks and gets what they want, and then the relationship starts to go downhill. So it's not about the sex, guys. It's not about the sex. It's about communication, okay? And once you get this right and you keep working on it, and this is what involvement is, isn't it? You guys want to grow your whole life. So you have to keep communicating.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're going to be different next year, this time. Right? Fundamentally, you've got a great foundation. You're going to be different.
Yeah.
And this is where the relationship goes downhill, especially in personal development, listeners, because quite often one person does the personal development. They don't let the other person in. They only talk to the mentor, maybe me, or their personal development friends, and they don't let the other person into the journey, and then the creation of the relationship actually starts to get destroyed. And so quite often when I've just got one person to work with, I think about the other partner and try and get the partner involved, even though they're not in the academy or I'm not helping them per se, trying to make sure the partner is communicated to as opposed to the lack of. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Because you've been in personal development longer than, you've been doing it longer than I have, and in the beginning that was very, very obvious, right?
Yeah. But look at you now. Look how far you've come, and it's amazing. And it helps me as well, because then as you change, I change, and we both become more balanced. And that's one thing that I think I personally try to uphold in the relationship is balance.
Yeah.
Because I want everything to be 50-50. I want myself to be masculine and feminine, and I think that's what I'm trying to become through the relationship, is like balanced, and I want to become as balanced as I can be. And it's difficult because we have to change our identity and patterns and stuff, and that's also, it comes into the relationship, we both do things 50-50. Like, I try to take responsibility for myself as much as I can, but we try and halve everything. Like, one person, we always split the food, we split the cleaning, we split the duties. Everything's 50-50. The money is 50-50. I try and make it all, but that might change when, like you said, like when you become a dad and a mom and all that, those roles will change. But I think it's also respect and fairness.
So tell us about that. Like, I look at you guys. You guys have amazing strengths, right? And you also have some weaknesses with each other. You're much more emotional than Filia, so it's usually the other way around.
Yeah.
And how's it been watching Filia become more emotional in the journey of your relationship? Because I've watched you do that. you've been scared of emotions all your life, and now you're really emotional as a person. What's it like actually changing and learning from your partner to be more connected to your emotions?
Oh, it's been really good because of like what he models for me at home. It's just like, oh, it's okay, and I support him through it, and I'm like, oh, I don't think I'm going to actually get rejected or something if I'm emotional then. So, and then actually, like I said, he asks, how are you feeling? And then in the beginning I was always like, I don't know. I don't know how I'm feeling. Let's talk about you again, way more comfortable. And now it's a little bit better. Now I can say certain things and being like, there's still things I struggle with, but now I can say certain things like I'm anxious or whatever it is in that moment. So yeah, I think it just it changes as we go, and I think this has really improved our relationship a lot. Like, it actually is so much better than when we first got together.
Yeah.
Like, it just becomes better because it becomes deeper.
Yeah. And tell me, Kody, what do you experience from Filia, her strengths that you get to vibe off, that you've learned from Filia about how she is that's really helped you become a better person?
I think acceptance, and just however you are, just pure acceptance. She's just really good at holding space.
Yeah.
And I think she's just like real deep beauty,
Yeah.
like on a deep level. Yeah, those are some of the main things. I think that's taught me to hold space for other people. Still learning. But yeah, there's lots of things. Her intellect, using her mind, getting out of the emotions, finding the balance between.
Yeah, she's really good at that. You take logic to the emotions really well. It's so cool to actually see a logic. Like, this is usually the opposite. I've got the same with my wife. My wife's more mental and I'm more emotional. So it's like usually the opposite way around, where the female's more emotional. It's not always the case, listeners, quite often we create a balance so we can create unity. And if we're all the same, that would be not right. So we get to learn off the aspects that maybe we don't have that the other person has.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that, that's where like I think that's why common interests are an important thing, but then a lot of the time the differences that you actually have in your character really help to actually grow. Because if we were both exactly the same, then we would just enable each other and keep each other stuck, quite likely. Whereas now, because when Kody goes real deep into emotions, I can bring the logic in there, and when I get too mental, he can bring in that emotion a bit more again. So then, it creates that more balance in our relationship.
And I think this is really important, listeners, because we're talking about two people who don't want the other person to be like them. So a lot of the time in relationships where they break is you're wanting the other person to do and be like who you are because it makes more sense for you. That doesn't work. We're here to amalgamate and connect unity to differences. And this is what I see, what I'm hearing. You tell me if I'm wrong. I'm hearing two people who want to actually understand each other's differences to make a difference in each other's lives.
100% correct, yeah.
Yeah, and this is not normal, guys. And if you're in a relationship where you're actually trying to get your partner to be like you, then that's not so great.
It's difficult.
It's hard, right? So we've got to learn. I was just chatting to someone who has a brain like mine. Like I've got a chaotic mind, so I do this. I'm all over the place, and I'm chaos to order. So everything can be all up in the air, and I go this, and this, and I make my sentence. Whereas other people are like filing systems, right?
That'd be more me.
Yeah, you're a filing system, you're a chaotic, right? So Anya's a filing system too. So when you get a filing system and you get a chaotic person, they work really well together. But quite often the filing system goes, well, you get your shit together, right? Jesus Christ, you're all over the place. Whereas the chaotic person is like, hey, let's go for a drive. Right? Let's go for a drive right now. And the orderly's like, we haven't done the dishes.
That's our
Right? And
conversation
it's like,
the other night.
come on, let's just go for a drive. We can do the dishes later. Spontaneity. You know, spontaneity is in the chaos. And if we don't have that, we don't have that childlike part of us running, and we need to know order and chaos. And so you guys have that as well. So quite often, women are more ordered because you're creating a kid eventually. So there's more systems in a female's body. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And we're more spontaneous in nature. We sort of go, I remember my mates when I was younger, it was like, it'd be Saturday at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. Hey, what are you up to tonight? Don't know. What are you up to? You want to hang out? Sure. That would be it. Whereas Monday would come, hey, Saturday night, you want to go and do this? Is the female's thing, and you planned, you're going to go out to dinner, you're going to go do this at 5, and then 6 o'clock we'll go and do these things. You know, and it's just a different way of approaching. And both are great. Because you can't have one without the other. I remember a partner that I had no plan to go to Sydney, right? No plan. And she had a panic attack on the way into Sydney because she didn't know what was happening. Right? I had a plan. I was going to take her to Centrepoint Tower and take her to a show. Everything worked out perfectly. The only thing I planned is where we were staying. We got to the beach. I said, what do you want to do? And she's like, oh my God! She was so angry. I said, this is my plan. Rang the place, got everything organised, and she's like, how'd you handle my weekend? She didn't cope very well. Because it was all spontaneity, you know, and everything worked out. Right? And I think what we've got to learn here, listeners, is we've got two people that want to grow and two people that want to learn. So, like, I know I pushed you guys a little bit over the years about planning, right? And when you're in your 20s, you don't really think about planning, do you? And you sort of got a little bit cranky with me a little bit, right?
Oh, a few times.
How does it feel when I started, you know, talking to you about, you know, future kids and all of that sort of stuff, and you're sort of starting to set yourself a plan for your futures, which is not normal for people in their 20s. What's it feel like now, feeling a little bit more grounded in what that would be to create a, you know, more of a plan? Because plans, if we don't have them, this is where too much chaos and not enough order for our future can create the stress without us knowing. So what's it like sort of having a bit more of a plan for what you want to do in your future? And what does your futures actually look like? What do you want?
Well, it's good. I mean, as you said, we need it. So we're talking about kids in about 5-6 years.
Yeah.
We're looking to buy a house. It's bloody expensive in Canberra. So you've told us about an investment guy. Looking at that. I mean, I'd like us to be wealthy one day, and I'm willing to work towards that. Don't know how, but I want us to have a couple of properties in 20 years, and we're going to be just working towards being mature, responsible parents, and then raising them. And I'd like to be happy with what I do. So I'm doing astrology on the side and mentoring.
Yeah.
For my current job, you're trying to figure out what really lights you up inside your heart. So it's a work in progress. For you, but
I think having a plan is definitely better than having none. At least you have some kind of direction. And I think one thing that you've taught me is as well that the plan doesn't need to be like, oh, I want to be doing this and this exactly for work, but it could be like, you know, I just want to feel confident, or I want to feel fulfilled on the inside, and then figuring out as you go what that actually looks like, because it'll change as well. But just kind of having an idea of the things that are coming up, the bigger things like having children, buying a house and these kinds of things, and having an idea of when that will be and what kind of things we need to do to prepare for them is quite nice, actually, rather than just being like, oh yeah, it'll be at some point in the future, I don't know.
And this is quite often a challenge, because like my generation was all built on making sure you had all of those things in place. Your generation doesn't think that way, right? And it's really good to have that blend of the two, to make sure that you're alleviating stress before it comes. Because I know that you can stress gets created, in my opinion, through not thinking straight about what we need and what it's going to look like. and how to play it. So I see you guys got really good communication skills, and I think you're going to be able to get through anything. Have you talked about like things like kids, like how you want to parent and that sort of stuff already, or like what do you do in that regard? Like have you thought about that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, not always like super in depth, like this is exactly how we're going to do it, but we kind of know like what kind of things we liked in our own childhood and what we didn't like. So we've talked about those things and what we want to bring. And then when you sometimes observe other parents, you're just like, oh, this is probably not how I would want to handle this situation, or this is like, oh, this is really good how they handled this situation. So kind of learning and watching, and
Yeah, I think I want to make sure that I don't just do the opposite of my parents and do both.
Yeah.
What I think is right and what I think my parents did, and just find the middle ground. And we'll be a team, of course. And boundaries, I think, is pretty much on the top of the list, because I've noticed how lack of boundaries is chaos. So you need that order, like you said, with kids, so they can create within a safe environment, and also so that you can love them properly. I think that's one thing I've noticed, that like boundaries kind of correlates to love in some way. But we will be a good team. I know that. We already are. So I'm pretty nervous just about the responsibility, I think.
Yeah, and I think that can be a real challenge, is to know how to deal with that responsibility. As a male, it's so different, because you're thinking, I don't know how you think, Kody, but I'm always thinking, oh, am I going to be able to, when I had our kids, am I going to be able to afford to have my partner off work and having one wage for a while, and not knowing what's going to happen with all of those things? Do you ever concern yourself about whether that?
I'm already thinking about how much money I have to save, and we're planning for that. Yeah. So it's definitely on my mind. It's on my list in my phone.
Yeah.
Starting to think about the savings goals.
And that's amazing to be thinking that way, because a lot of men don't think that way. And if you're thinking that way now before you have them, you're looking at 5 or 6 years down the track. Listeners, this is really good to hear, is that like they've talked about things that they want, rough guide, but you're never going to know what life is going to do, right? We have no idea what life is going to bring us in the way. What would you suggest, like, for people who are struggling in relationships or want a relationship to work? Like, what's your advice for people in a relationship right now to make it work with the way that you guys do what you do?
I think talk and really really listen.
Yeah. How do you listen? Like, what does that actually mean? Because a lot of people don't know what listening is. What does true listening actually look like?
I think it's kind of that type of care that you have in there, and actually wanting to understand and know the person, and not just like, oh, I'm going to just listen so I can tell you what to do or something like that. And also what you said before, like not just being like, oh, I just want them to be like me, and then telling them like, oh, this is what you need to do because that's how I am. But and also not always having to give advice or something. Sometimes just being there and just holding that space and just listening, I think is super important as well, because I feel like a lot of people just don't really talk, or it's very one-sided, or very like, they don't really have that care in there.
Yeah, I think that's really, really important. And what about for people who are single, like you guys? What advice would you give for someone who really wants to have a good relationship and they keep creating the same human in a different body, that like they're not the right person? Like, what would you tell them?
Well, I would say go deep inside themselves and change. Look at their pain, look at their unconscious. So the work in the academy. Accept the pain, accept the darkness, and accept your self-hate or whatever's going on internally, and then look look at how you can make that better. Look at how you can respect yourself more. Because if you're attracting someone who doesn't respect you, you don't respect yourself, and then you got to look at that. Okay, honor it, and then work on a way to improve that. And then you'll start respecting yourself more because you're proving to yourself through actions that are different. And then when you start proving to yourself that you're worthy of certain things, like health, finance, etc., then you'll start to attract different people that are on that level, rather than, or you'll just say no to the people that are disrespecting you. Yeah, so go deep.
Yeah. So listeners, this is really important to understand, because what I see on Facebook so often is, he did this, she did this, not my fault, not my fault. And what you're saying, Kody, tell me if I'm wrong, is that make sure you take the responsibility for what's inside of you, rather than blaming what's happening on the outside of you with the people that you're actually wanting. You got your list, but you keep creating the opposite. That's actually the person's fault, not the person who's coming in and being a dickhead with you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I agree with that as well. Like, I was in a relationship just before I came to Australia and saw Kody again as friends, and then we parted as more than friends. But yeah, in that relationship right before, I was not happy, and I realized that, and I was like, what's going on here? And I realized that all those patterns had played out in the past, and it was just more extreme in this case. And I thought, well, if I don't end this now, I'll just be unhappy the whole time, and I'll not enjoy my trip, traveling through Australia and all these kinds of things. So I decided to end it, and that was the right decision, 100%. And then actually standing up for myself and saying, like, this is not what I want, actually saying, like, this is not what I wanted. Like, I wrote a list in the past of, what I wanted in a relationship, and that was not the list, basically. And then literally a few days later, we were basically together, I guess. And it was everything on that I'd written on that list I found. So I think just becoming clear on what you actually want, and then actually also seeing that in front of you.
So true.
Being able to see that.
And were you able to accept receiving it when you had your list?
Yeah, with you I definitely was, yeah.
Yeah, and that's really cool, because a lot of people can't accept receiving the list that you've created. And you try and convert them into something else.
Yeah. I think that experience was just going into something out of loneliness beforehand, versus not wanting to be alone and look at my stuff, versus then actually being like, no, this is what I want, and if I don't have anyone, that's okay, I'm fine on my own. So
yeah. So that's what experience as well. It's like saying no to the things that you don't want, or just letting go of things to create space for something new and better. So getting clear on exactly what you want. I did that. I wrote a list, and then Filia turned up, and she was the exact woman, 10 out of 10 on my list, like perfect. And I had to be willing to not have that, and I let it go, and I forgot about it. And then later on it came, and I was just like, this is the woman that I thought about, like I dreamed about. But then I forgot about it because I let it go, and then it came back. So it's like magic, like you let go, but it comes to you. But yeah, I was willing to accept it.
Yeah, and I think that's really, really important, is the acceptance that you can have what you want in a relationship. And so what I'm hearing, the fundamentals around getting this right around a relationship, is making sure that you talk, making sure that you call out when it's not okay, so 3 strikes, and then you have a bit of more of a stronger conversation to make sure that you don't enable your partner to be stuck. Making sure you take responsibility for your own behaviours, and not project. And you got love.
Absolutely.
And did you listen? It's not sex.
No. That wasn't on the list,
That
guys.
wasn't on the list, right? Don't put that as a priority. right? Attraction's got to be there. You both said, you're attracted to each other. That's an essential part, but don't make the grinding of the bones the thing that's actually going to create the longevity of a relationship, because it won't. So one thing I've learned, when I was a kid, I used to look and I used to get really emotional seeing really old people holding hands on the beach walking. And that's what I want with Anya and I, and that's what you guys have. And Anya and I have that focus. That's the important part, is thinking when you're old and wrinkly, you're not going to be focusing on bumping and grinding your bodies together, I hope. Right? And if you do think that that's a good idea, I reckon there's some psychological issues happening if that's what you want at 70. Right? You got to let go of that need for that desire baseline all the time, because that is what creates disharmony. It's not that it's wrong, guys. Don't make it the priority of a long-lasting relationship. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. We don't really think about it. It's just like a hug is enough.
Yeah. And that's what it is, guys, is that intimacy doesn't have to be touching every erogenous zone. It's about finding out how was your day and wanting to know the answer. And that's what creates true love. And this is what I'm hearing the two of you are able to do really, really well with each other. And because you've turned it into a map, you've made it a habit. And a lot of people don't do this. They go, not feeling so good. I want to have a kid.
Yeah. So true.
Right? I just want to have a kid. And it's just like, so you haven't done your fundamentals right and you've decided to have a kid.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't work out.
Yeah, it doesn't work out. And so if you're in that place where you have kids and you've created this, there are people like Kody who can give you a hand in the relationship game to support that relationship when things have gone pear-shaped, or you want to create something new, or you want to know, from an astrological level, sort of what it is to help create a fundamental relationship and do that. You have an amazing you're an amazing map reader for people to show them where they're stuck, what they can do, and it's really good to have two people modelling the appropriate relationship that exists in this world.
Definitely, because I think that so many times we see all these relationships in other people and on TV and stuff where there's all this drama all the time, and we feel like this is what it's like, and it feels like normal because you see it on TV and it's all turbulent and stuff, and then there's this this big fight, and then there's huge passion and making up, and you're just like, it doesn't actually look like that. I mean, maybe some people's relationships look like that. Ours definitely doesn't look like that. I can't even remember if we ever yelled at each other. Yes, we've raised our voices. Yes, we've been angry with each other, but there has been no door slamming, calling each other names or whatever. So,
and that's very rare.
Yeah.
And so I'd ask you this question, and I said this this week. Your relationship is boring.
Yeah.
Which makes it beautiful, right? This is what true love is. You're not doing all the bullshit of fighting and carrying on and all the fanfare and all this bullshit that happens in the movies. You're actually creating a really stable, loving relationship that's as nice and caring and kind, which it's not going to go out into the news. It's not a newsworthy experience because it's beautiful. Relationships, listeners, are about boredom. They're about comfort. They're about ease and communication. They don't have to be a big hoo-ha and a fight, is what I'm hearing. And boredom is brilliance, guys. And I've had a lot of people say, I'm really bored in my relationship. And I'm like, what's the guy with? Oh, he's this and this. Oh, so he's got all the ticker box. And I'm like, oh my God. And the girl, same thing. I'm just like, so it's all the ticker box? Oh yeah, it just doesn't feel like I got the spark. Spark is not where it's at. It's actually sparkless that creates the longevity of a relationship, because then you're not desperate for this thing that's meant to come out. And this is a problem with all the movies. Yeah. Because the last 2 minutes of the movies is when they do happily ever after. Yeah. The whole hour and a half of drama, and then 2 minutes of happy. So we're built on a dramatical, and you're actually built on a resonance of And I'm just being really bluntly honest. It's boring to be beautiful. Love does not have to hurt. It can be elegant, it can be kind and considerate. And these things don't create massive problems. They're boring, they're stable, they're easy, and that's what we're meant to be able to build, but people don't know how to do it. And you guys are the epitome of the boring beautiful. And listen, guys, this is not about your relationship is full of growth, you got excitement, you got amazing things that you want to do together and build and fulfill. At the end of the day, you're not creating the classic hoo-ha. And this is what creates beauty, and this is what I'm seeing right now. Beauty in the boredom of brilliance. You two are magic. And I'm so lucky to know you because I learned from this, right? These two beautiful people around how to be beautiful, stable, loving, kind, all of these ticker boxes that they do with each other that doesn't create a bonfire, right? It can be a campfire where you're sitting around and you're enjoying company, and that's what creates warmth. And that's what I love about the two of you, and I really appreciate the fact that you've jumped on here to show what true relationships are all about. They're not meant to be sparks and shovels and spears and guns and all of this. They don't have to be like this, do they?
No, absolutely not.
And would you agree boring is beautiful?
Yeah. When you have beautiful like little rituals that you do all the time and that actually bring you closer together, but they seem boring after a while, but you just might seem boring or might not, but we always, every night before bed, we talk in bed and we just say something that we're grateful for in that day. And sometimes Kody falls asleep while talking. But it's always, that's something that we do, and that's that might not seem like the most exciting thing, but it's just like a way to connect in again before going to sleep, and also kind of just reflect back on the day.
Yeah, and it's a habit of beauty, right? So beauty and rainbows are in stability, kindness and calm, right? They're the things that we're all wanting in a relationship, and these guys actually own the qualities. So listeners, stop looking for that perfect bum. You do have a perfect bum, by the way. I have said that about you. So you have the bum that I want. But stop looking, and you know that's the perfect bum, right?
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah. So that you do have that. So you must have put that in as a menu. Was that what you took box this?
I was on the stage. I was
shuffling around. So it's not about that. It's about what's going to actually make a warm campfire, and that's what you guys have, is a warm campfire, warm in your hearts. And I really believe that it's really important for people like yourself to actually expose your relationship out in the world, so people can actually see what a true bonded, beautiful, stable, calm, kind, caring, loving relationship is all about. And listeners, if you really like this podcast, I'd love it if you could like or review this and let people know, and share this podcast with people. If you want to get in touch with Kody, we'll put all the details down in the show notes. Filia's here with me, so we have our academy to help people with this stuff as well. I think this is really, really important to actually know how to get this idea of a formula. Now, these two have a formula that every single relationship should be doing, in my opinion. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
I couldn't have done it without you. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here with Filia. So, everyone listen to Jason because he knows what he's talking about. It may be confusing, but you have to trust the process. And I only did this because I went deep inside myself and looked at all the stuff that everyone hides from. And if I didn't do that, I'd probably I'd be with someone who's chaotic, drama, and fires going everywhere. But I went inside, and now it's like calmness. And then we'd help each other do that. And it just keeps getting better and better because I'm focused on me, growth, not you and what I can get from you. It's just like growth rather than something I can experience, something I can take.
It's
Yeah.
letting go of the transactions, isn't it?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I hear that. So thank you guys so much for jumping on, and
Thank you, Jason.
hopefully you like this one. We'll catch you again soon.
Thanks so much for listening to our podcast. We really appreciate you, and we really appreciate your time, because time is so valuable. What we'd love you guys to do, if you like this podcast, if you could share it with your friends, and also our website address for the podcast is www.wellnessbreakthroughacademypodcast.com. Our website is www.wellnessbreakthroughacademy.com. We have a free Facebook group called Wellness Leadership Evolution, so search for that. I'd love it if you could add me as a friend on Facebook. I don't buy it, so add me as a friend. And if you want some help and you would really like some support from us in the Academy, jump in. We have a process. You can do a break-in call to connect in with us. We do small courses. We have lots of things that we share. So we'd love the opportunity to give you a chance to change your life and turn it into a free one. You are one transformation away from change. Come and catch up.